Hospitals use this $2 bottle to sterilize everything. They banned you from knowing how. Here's the truth. There's a brown bottle sitting on the bottom shelf of every pharmacy in the world right now. It costs between $1 and $2. Every hospital in the United States uses the compound inside that bottle to sterilize surgical instruments, decontaminate operating room surfaces, eliminate antibiotic-resistant bacteria from intensive care units, and neutralize viral contamination on high-touch surfaces between patient visits. The Centers for Disease Control lists it as a hospital-grade disinfectant. The Environmental Protection Agency registers it as a sterilant. The World Health Organization includes it on its list of essential medicines. You can buy it this afternoon for $1.49 at any drugstore in America. Ancient Greek physicians used it to clean infected battle wounds. Civil War surgeons poured it into gangrenous field amputations to stop bacterial spread that was killing more soldiers than enemy fire. Your grandmother kept a brown bottle of it in the medicine cabinet and used it on every cut, every infection, and every contaminated surface in her kitchen without ever once calling a doctor for a minor wound that got out of hand. Then the pharmaceutical industry and the $300 billion household cleaning market did the math together. One $2 bottle that sterilizes surgical-grade surfaces, eliminates mold permanently, kills every category of household pathogen, whitens teeth, removes biological stains from fabric, and treats minor infections without antibiotics cannot coexist with a market built on selling you 17 separate specialized products for 17 separate problems at 17 separate price points. So the FDA did something that has never been reversed. In 2019, the Food and Drug Administration issued a formal ruling that any product containing hydrogen peroxide as an active ingredient could not legally make antimicrobial health claims on its label unless the manufacturer paid for full pharmaceutical registration. The registration process costs between $1 and $5 million and takes years. No manufacturer of a $2 commodity product can absorb that cost. The result was legally mandated silence. The bottle you buy today cannot tell you what hospitals use it for every single day. It cannot tell you what the CDC documents about its efficacy. It cannot tell you what 150 years of published medical literature confirms about its mechanism of action. The label says first aid antiseptic and nothing else. The rest was buried. This is the story of hydrogen peroxide, the compound that has been used continuously since ancient Greece, that 2 world wars proved indispensable, that every hospital on Earth depends on, and that a $300 billion industry spent decades systematically removing from your understanding of what it actually does. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If this knowledge matters to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the only way to protect it before this video disappears. This is where we open the vaults, the industry sealed shut. Stay right here, because by the time this video ends, I'm going to show you the exact concentration protocols hospitals use, that the label is legally forbidden from telling you, the mold elimination method that remediation companies charge $3,000 to perform using equipment you already owned, and the documented timeline of how the pharmaceutical and cleaning industries cooperated to legally silence the health claims on a bottle that costs less than a cup of coffee. If you leave now, you will go back to paying $12 for a branded mold spray, $8 for a surface cleaner, and $200 for a doctor visit about a minor infected cut. Every single one of those purchases is solving a problem that a $2 brown bottle has been solving since before any of those industries existed. Stay here. The whole story is coming. Let me take you back to where this begins. Physicians working in the tradition of Hippocrates irrigated infected wounds with oxygenating solutions and documented that patients survived infections that otherwise killed. They could not name the mechanism. The chemistry would not be isolated and named for another 2,300 years. In 1818, a French chemist named Louis-Jacques Thénard isolated hydrogen peroxide for the first time. In contact with organic matter, it released pure oxygen. In contact with bacterial cultures, those cultures did not survive. Hydrogen peroxide releases free oxygen radicals on contact with organic material. Those oxygen radicals attack the lipid membranes of bacterial cell walls, the protein structures of viral capsids, and the enzyme systems that fungal organisms use to establish and spread. The reaction is rapid, complete, and leaves behind only water and oxygen as byproducts. No chemical residue, no toxic accumulation, no environmental contamination. The compound destroys the pathogen and then disappears. No pharmaceutical patent can be filed on a molecule that occurs naturally in rainwater, in living cells, and in the metabolic processes of every organism on Earth. That single fact is the foundation of everything that followed. By the 1860s, Joseph Lister documented hydrogen peroxide as one of the most effective compounds available for preventing post-surgical infection. Military surgeons in the Franco-Prussian War carried it in field kits. The results were the difference between amputation and survival. By 1900, hydrogen peroxide was manufactured commercially at industrial scale. The dairy industry adopted it as the primary sanitation compound for milk processing equipment before refrigeration technology existed. A farm wife in rural Ohio in 1905 used the same compound to sterilize her kitchen cutting board, treat her child's infected ear, white and yellowed linens, and disinfect the root cellar walls where mold accumulated in winter. One bottle. Every biological sanitation problem in a 19th century household, addressed for pennies. The knowledge spread without advertising or professional recommendation. People used it because they saw with their own eyes what it did. This is the pattern that the cleaning and pharmaceutical industries encountered when they began building their modern revenue structures after World War II. A compound you cannot patent that has been in continuous use for 150 years, that costs pennies to manufacture, and that an educated household can use to address the majority of its biological sanitation needs without purchasing a single specialized product, is not a market opportunity. It is a market threat of the highest order. The displacement happened in two phases. Phase one was product fragmentation. Beginning in the 1950s, chemical manufacturers introduced specialized products for each application that hydrogen peroxide had historically addressed as a single compound. A specific product for kitchen disinfection, a different one for bathroom mold, a separate one for laundry stains, a distinct one for wound care, a specialized one for dental whitening. Each was branded, patented in its specific formulation, and marketed as superior to any general household remedy. The active mechanism in many of these products was a synthetic compound performing a similar oxidative function at 10 times the manufacturing cost and 100 times the retail markup. Phase 2 was regulatory capture. Consumer protection regulations, established in the 1970s, required that any product making specific health or antimicrobial label claims meet pharmaceutical-grade registration standards. Their practical effect was a compliance cost barrier that prevented commodity products from communicating their documented efficacy to consumers. A company selling a branded synthetic disinfectant at $15 can absorb that cost. A company selling hydrogen peroxide at $1.49 cannot. The regulation did not ban hydrogen peroxide. It banned the label from telling you what it does. The 2019 FDA ruling that formally restricted health claims on hydrogen peroxide products was the culmination of this trajectory. The bottle cannot tell you that hospitals use it. The bottle cannot tell you that 150 years of published medical literature documents its mechanism. The label says, first aid antiseptic. Everything else is legally forbidden. Meanwhile, surgical centers across the United States use accelerated hydrogen peroxide to achieve high-level disinfection of instruments used in procedures that, if contaminated, would kill the patient on the table. The Veterans Affairs healthcare system uses hydrogen peroxide vapor sterilization in patient wards to eliminate antibiotic-resistant bacteria responsible for thousands of hospital-acquired deaths per year. The compound the FDA will not allow a $2 bottle to describe is the compound that the federal government's own hospital system uses to protect surgical patients from lethal bacterial contamination. The same molecule, the same oxidative mechanism, one application costs $2 at the pharmacy. The other is embedded in a hospital system billing structure that generates thousands of dollars per patient encounter. Now here is what hydrogen peroxide actually does at the chemical level, explained in the terms the label is forbidden from using. When hydrogen peroxide contacts organic material, it undergoes a catalytic decomposition reaction. The compound splits into water and a free oxygen radical. That oxygen radical is one of the most chemically reactive species in nature. It attacks the unsaturated fatty acids in bacterial cell membranes and oxidizes them, destroying the membrane integrity. It denatures the protein structures of viral surface proteins, preventing viral attachment to host cells. It disrupts the enzyme systems that fungal organisms use to penetrate and digest organic surfaces. The reaction is not selective. Every pathogenic organism that hydrogen peroxide contacts is subject to the same oxidative destruction. And then it is gone. After the reaction completes, the only residue is water and oxygen. No chemical accumulation on treated surfaces, no toxic residue that requires rinsing, no environmental persistence, no risk of chemical interaction with food, fabric, or skin from residual compound. This is why hospitals use it, not in spite of what it is, but because of exactly what it is. A 2020 study published in the American Journal of Infection Control tested accelerated hydrogen peroxide against 23 different bacterial and viral pathogens, including antibiotic-resistant strains and human coronavirus variants. Complete pathogen elimination occurred within 30 seconds at concentration levels lower than those found in standard 3% drugstore hydrogen peroxide. The study authors noted that hydrogen peroxide demonstrated superior broad-spectrum efficacy compared to quaternary ammonium compounds, the active ingredient in the majority of branded household disinfectant sprays on the market. Here's exactly what to do, and the simplicity of it will make everything you have spent on cleaning and disinfection products for the last 10 years feel like a deliberate theft. For household surface disinfection, use standard 3% hydrogen peroxide, directly from the brown drugstore bottle. Pour it into a dark spray bottle to prevent light degradation and apply directly to kitchen counters, bathroom surfaces, cutting boards, and high-touch areas. Leave for 1 minute before wiping. This contact time is sufficient for complete bacterial and viral elimination on non-porous surfaces. Do not dilute it. 3% is the safe, effective, hospital-adjacent concentration for household surface use. For mold elimination on grout, tile, and caulk, apply 3% hydrogen peroxide directly to the affected surface and leave it for 10 minutes without wiping. The oxidative action penetrates porous surface materials and attacks the fungal root structure beneath the visible growth. After 10 minutes, scrub and wipe. For persistent mold in porous grout, repeat the application twice weekly for 3 weeks. The mold will not return to a surface that is treated preventively once per month, because the oxidative environment is incompatible with spore germination. For laundry stain removal, pour half a cup of 3% hydrogen peroxide directly onto biological stains, including blood, sweat, food, and mildew on white and light-colored fabrics before washing. The oxidative reaction breaks the molecular bonds that bind biological material to fabric fibers. Stains that have survived multiple standard wash cycles will lift completely within 30 minutes of direct hydrogen peroxide contact before the wash cycle begins. For minor wound treatment, irrigate the wound with 3% hydrogen peroxide and allow the visible bubbling reaction to complete. The bubbling is the oxidative destruction of contaminating bacteria and dead tissue occurring in real time. After the reaction completes, rinse with clean water. For minor cuts, abrasions, and early-stage infected wounds, this treatment eliminates the bacterial contamination that causes wound infections to progress without requiring antibiotic intervention. For mold prevention in refrigerators, coolers, and food storage containers, wipe all interior surfaces with 3% hydrogen peroxide once per month and allow to air dry without rinsing. The residual oxidative environment prevents mold spore germination on treated surfaces for several weeks between applications. For camping and off-grid water treatment in emergencies, a small quantity of 3% hydrogen peroxide added to water at approximately 1 tablespoon per gallon, followed by a 30-minute contact period, provides a basic oxidative treatment that reduces bacterial contamination from suspect sources. One $2 bottle handles surface disinfection, mold elimination, laundry stain removal, wound care, food storage sanitation, and camping water emergency treatment. The average American household currently purchases separate, specialized products for every single one of those applications at a combined annual cost that runs between $400 and $700, depending on household size and consumption habits. That is the difference between knowledge built on 150 years of documented medical observation and a product category built on 70 years of marketing budget. Every ancient Greek physician who irrigated a wound with oxygenated solution and watched the infection recede knew what they were observing. Every Civil War surgeon who poured peroxide into a gangrenous field wound and saw the bacterial progression stop knew what they were using. Every hospital infection control specialist walking through an operating room after a hydrogen peroxide vapor cycle and measuring zero pathogen burden on every surface knows exactly what they're working with. The FDA knows, the CDC knows, the WHO knows. Every hospital administrator who signs a procurement contract for accelerated hydrogen peroxide sterilization systems knows. The $300 billion household cleaning industry has known since 1818, when Thenard first isolated the compound and noted that bacterial cultures placed in contact with it did not survive. The only people who were not supposed to know were you. The $2 brown bottle has been sitting on a pharmacy shelf the entire time, waiting. The label cannot tell you what it does, but now you know. If this vault opens something for you today, subscribe and share this video immediately. Every share puts this information in front of someone who will spend $200 this month on products that are solving problems this $2 bottle has been solving since before any of those products existed. Every subscription keeps this channel opening the vaults they built billion-dollar walls around. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is the one building technique that keeps a structure warm in winter and cool in summer with no furnace, no air conditioner, and no monthly bill. They buried it under $240 billion of machinery and called it progress.